If you still have some time, we collected some questions here. Some of them may be longer answers or shorter answers, but thought it would be kind of fun to kind of bounce around those, if you don't mind.
Let's do it.
All right. So, so doing a little bit of research on your story, I noticed two things that kind of like stood out is passion and nostalgia. Like to me, those two things were kind of radiating from your brand. What what kind of helped you make those decisions of kind of letting those two things be the forefront and kind of drive your decisions or things like that?
Yeah, I think that the bats are a clear jumping off point from the uniforms that are on the field, and everybody sees those uniforms. Everybody looks at those uniforms, whether they are paying attention or not. They're on the cover of every single baseball card they've ever seen. They're on the cover of every Beckett monthly they've ever seen. Um, and so for me, like collecting baseball cards, I think was more than just like a hobby. It was almost like a case study. Like I'm looking at these designs of these jerseys, like Daryl Strawberry, for instance, like orange, royal blue, white, pinstripe, and those. It's just a repetitive thing. Like you just see it over and over again. Like for for me, it was 20 years, 20 plus years of looking at this. Um, and so it was a natural, it was kind of natural for me to translate that over into a design of a bat. And lucky for me and everyone else, like it looks great. It looks cool. It looks like it's something that belongs to every baseball fan.
Hmm.
And there's millions of baseball fans out there that are passionate about baseball, and they love the nostalgic vibe of the game. It's the only game I feel like that either on purpose or not, Major League Baseball and their fans look back at history more than any other sport. They have throwback jersey games. They bring out the old timers. Like in the NFL, I mean, they kind of do that sometimes, but it looks weird, or it looks out
Hmm.
of place. But for baseball, like you look at Cal Ripken Jr., for instance. Like you look at him when he was in his prime, and if you ever saw a picture of him like in street clothes, like he looks like such a goofball. But side by side, the picture of him in his jersey, he looks like today. He looks like the jerseys, like the jerseys have aged well, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So yeah, it kind of, it very much is an extension of me and what I love about baseball.
That's really neat, and just like the timeless look of the bats, kind of like has a foot in each realm here. You've got the nostalgia, and you have like the modern twist to it, which is I think where everybody gets attracted to them. All right. So we talked about your collaborations. I know you didn't get to list all of them, but what was one of your like probably favorite brands or organizations to work with? And then on top of that, what would be a dream collaboration?
Oh man, a dream collaboration. That's a tough one. Um, well, I'll answer the first question first, then I'll think about the second question.
Sure.
So I think it has to be a toss up between the Boston Red Sox collaboration and the Louisville Slugger collaboration. Um, the Yeah, the Red Sox one, I think, was the one that personally, um, I gained the most. Um, what do you call it? I'm proud of that one
Hmm.
more than Louisville Slugger.
It seems like a
Um,
milestone, maybe.
yeah, yeah, like that one is like, I mean, Louisville Slugger, that project was ridiculous and amazing, and I still can't believe I got to do paint the bats for the home run derby. That's ridiculous. Like who gets to do that?
Mm.
Nobody. Like, that's crazy. But the Red Sox one, I feel like had the biggest impact on me personally. Um, Looking back on last summer when we got to go to Fenway Park for the first time, the collaboration, the Red Sox collaboration, I painted two bats for them for their photo shoot for their
Mm-hmm.
20. It was 20. I'm drawing a blank on what year it was. I think it was 2018, 2019. No, it was 2017. I think I collaborated with them, and then they ended up winning the World Series. I think it's all foggy, but anyway,
Yeah.
they reached out, and I had been kind of like Instagram buddies with Marissa McLean. She's one of their designers, and Billy Weiss is their main team photographer, and Tim Heitzelman, I think is how you say his last name, Heitzelman, Tim Heitzelman, and Nick Shee. Their creative department is different than a lot of the other MLB creative departments. Like they're very accessible, and I think that's different than a lot of the other teams. Like you don't even know who their creative director is. Even if you search it on LinkedIn, you can't even find it. So I don't know if that's just like I think the Red Sox just have always been very accessible people. But I talk to that team like at least once a month, just like I'll see something funny or like I'll text Tim or I'll shoot Marissa a DM or something. And it's like totally unrelated to Red Sox baseball. It's just like, they're like real people or something.
That's really
And,
cool.
go figure. And so we make these bats for them, and it shows up on their Instagram feed. It shows up in all of their programs, and it was just like, it just kept giving. It was like the collaboration that kept on giving.
Mm-hmm.
And the cherry on top was, so I'm 42 now, and when I turned 40, I wanted to go to Fenway, and we couldn't that summer. We couldn't go that summer, and so we had to delay our trip by an entire year. And so in that span of 12 months, I think the Red Sox won the World Series in 2018 is like when, and I sent them a bat. I made them a special bat for the creative department, and just say congratulations. And then, yeah, that's how it is. So 2018, the Red Sox won the World Series. I sent them a bat. And then 2 months later, they're like, hey, we want to do some special Mitchell bats for our spring training photos. And I think like the lesson learned there, like if you're listening and you have a hard goods product, is send it out to people. Like, I mean, but do it genuinely. Like I genuinely just sent them a bat because I was excited for the Red Sox. I kind of knew them just from Instagram, and I wanted to have it. There's no strings attached. And it turned into this collaboration, and then that turned into another collaboration, and then that turned into this amazing trip that I had to Boston, where I got to tour the Fenway Park. Just me and my wife and Marissa and Tim and Nick got to just walk on the field before anybody showed up, and we got to go inside the Green Monster. And that's something that, like, as a kid, watching baseball and knowing what the Green Monster is, and knowing the history of Fenway Park, and knowing that it's the oldest Major League Baseball stadium in the country still operating, and we got to go inside of the Green Monster, and I got to put numbers like up into the scoreboard.
That's
And it was just like, I still can't believe that I got to do that. And they gave us like free tickets for 2 games, and they kept like upgrading our seats. Like they gave us the seats were fine. Like they were great seats already.
mm,
And I saw, Tim walks up the thing looking for me, and he goes, get out of these seats. I got better seats for you. These seats are terrible. And I'm like, dude, these are behind home plate. Like, what are you talking about? They're amazing.
it's like, do you want me in the dugout?
I know, right? And they were just so kind and just so welcoming, and that was such a cool experience. And during that time while I was there, I get a DM from Victor Rojos, which is the baseball announcer for the Angels, And he was like, "Hey, come up. I see you're at Fenway. Come up to the booth." And so in the middle of the game, we got to go and hang out with Victor in the Angels booth. And I'm just like, what is happening right now? Like, there's
Wow.
so many things that are happening that I was not expecting. And at the beginning of this podcast, you mentioned, hearing my talk and in Texas, and in that talk, I shared the story for the first time ever about me discovering my bats in the photos that the Red Sox took, like all the way down the sidewalk at Fenway Park. And there were banners that were like 10 feet tall, and, Mookie Betts, holding a Mitchell bat over his shoulder. And the bat was like as big as a truck, because it was just these oversized photos. And I'll never forget that moment. Like, it was just one of those things that, like, I was not expecting to walk up on those photos at that moment. And I was caught up in the moment, and I was like, wow. I think that's kind of when it kind of came full circle for me of like, what am I doing? And being at Fenway Park on that sidewalk on that day by myself with my wife, like no one else can experience that. Like, I created this thing 7 years ago on no money, like scrappy as you can get. And I'm standing in Fenway Park looking at a photo of a bat that I painted.
Mm-hmm.
And it was nuts. Like, it was like, so out of all the collaborations, I don't even know what the question was, but I think I think the Red Sox collaboration has to be the one that's my favorite for sure.
Well, the second question was, which that's an amazing story, because like as a creative, there's always something awesome about seeing your work out in the wild. It's like, yeah, I contribute to that, or I designed that. But
Yeah.
when it's something like this, where it's a passion project, and you just hustle and hustle and hustle, and it's like to see that pay off, I'm sure that's just so rewarding. And then especially to get the VIP experience when you arrive, like it's all that hard work paid off, and that's just so cool to hear. And I can see why that's your favorite.
Yeah. Yeah. The second question is who my dream client? Gosh, I don't even know. I mean, I've done stuff for Ralph Lauren, Jack Daniels, the Red Sox, a couple other MLB teams. I don't know. There's a lot of brands out there that I haven't even scratched the surface with.
Right. And there's brands out there that seem to be the right fit. Like I feel like the ones that you've collaborated so far feel like it's the right fit. And there could be brands out there that would be like an amazing opportunity, but maybe not the right fit. So I think there's like always going to be that conversation of like, where's the next step? And that's really cool to think, because you've done, brands up here, you've done brands up here and in between. So it's like kind of gauging now where Mitchell Bat fits. And getting to be a part of like the history of baseball, in these little moments is probably just amazing, to get to experience that and to see it in Ebbets Fields and ESPN and all that stuff. It's just kind of like, I'm sure it's overwhelming at times, but like that experience with the Red Sox, that's got to be rewarding for all the hard work.
Yeah. And what I think is cool too is like, if it doesn't matter if I'm painting a bat for the Red Sox or if I'm painting a bat for regular Joe, he's getting the same quality bat, like the precision that goes into those stripes. And I will not send out a product I'm not proud of. I don't care who it's for. If I don't know you, or if it's for Jack Daniels, like it's going to be perfect, because like I'm not doing this to be a C player,
And you get to be quality control.
Right.
At the end of the day, you don't have to, and that might be the benefit of you doing these is, even though you had a guy that was doing a great job, it's like if you did have a full team and you didn't have your eyes on every piece, it wouldn't have that same, like you were saying, that heart into it. And I think that heart is what has got you where you have been, to be honest. All right, so let me give you a couple easier questions. So what? First of all, I don't think we got your favorite baseball team or in player. So favorite team and player.
Okay. Favorite team is the Cubs, and I I grew up in Nashville, and there wasn't a team close by, but we had WGN, and that was really and this was prior to the Cubs having lights at their stadium. So they got lights at their stadium in 1988 on August 8th, which is my 10th birthday, 8888.
Wow.
And so I watched the Cubs, but I kind of wasn't a Cubs fan. I was more of like a fan of the players. Like I was an Andre Dawson fan, Ryan Sandberg, Mark Grace. Like I liked those guys, but I also liked Darryl Strawberry and Dwight Gooden. I liked him. So I was like kind of a Mets fan, but also a Cubs fan. And then I liked Eric Davis. And then I also played for the Reds. And so that made me even like Eric Davis even more. I was a big Pete Rose fan. So then I was kind of a Reds fan. So there's like pictures of me at like my birthday blowing out like a Yankees cake, wearing a Mets hat and like a Reds t-shirt. And so I was just like no loyalty at all. Just like I was a fan of baseball. I loved them all.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I was a big Cal Ripken Jr. fan. So that kind of puts me as a, Orioles fan. So I was very much like all over the place as a kid.
Yeah.
And then I kind of honed in on the Braves for, most of the 90s. I was like a diehard Braves fan. And then the strike happened. And then when I came back to baseball, like I skipped baseball like all through high school, all through college, didn't watch MLB, didn't care about it. Then I got married, and we didn't have any money, and we didn't have cable, but we had WGN. And then now we're back to like watching Cubs games. And so I became a Cubs fan because of WGN again. And it was before they were good. I promise you, I'm not a fair weather Cubs fan. And so fast forward to my birthday on 8/8/08, I turned 30. We went to Wrigley for the 20th anniversary of their first night game, and it was a day game, which I thought was kind of interesting. But I digress. And so I became a diehard Cubs fan, still am. Saw them in the 2015 postseason at Wrigley. I had tickets to that, and that was a blast. I had tickets to Game 4 for 2016 World Series, and I let them go because I'm like, I don't know if I can swing this. And but I've kind of been a Yankees fan for a while. Don Mattingly's been a big part of my like baseball story, and so I would say I follow the Cubs closely, the closest, and the Yankees second, and then but I'm just a fan. I like all the teams. I'm a fan of the game. I would watch. I have an MLB package, so like I can watch every single game, home or away broadcast. And so like I might watch a Mariners D-backs game on a Friday night and be super into it. It doesn't have to be the Cubs. And I think that's kind of fun. It's fun being a fan, like have your core team. I think, and you may disagree, but I think everyone is allowed one favorite National League team, one favorite American League team.
Yep, that makes
sense. Or just like them all.
Yeah, that's the way to do it, because then you never lose.
That's right.
We all win. All right. So let's see. Oh, so this one's going to go way back. What is one of your favorite baseball memories in general? Maybe growing up playing baseball, aside from maybe like your career with Mitchell Bat. So kind of where it all started.
Yeah, I would say the first MLB game I ever went to is probably one of those like pivotal moments of my fandom of baseball. First game I went to was for my birthday. We went down to Atlanta. I think I just turned 13. We went down to Atlanta and watched a Braves game at Atlanta Fulton County Stadium. And so this is the same stadium that Hank Aaron broke his record. Hank Aaron broke Babe Ruth's home run record, 715 home runs career. But it was cool because we got there early, and I went down to the field to try to get an autograph, and didn't have much luck. Couldn't get close enough. And Tony Gwynn was playing. He went 3 for 5 that night. Gary Sheffield went 3 for 5 as well. Dave Justice was playing right field. Ron Gantz playing in left field. Deion Sanders came in to pinch hit. I remember this. This was like, forever ago. But what I remember the most about that game, prior to the game, I went down to the field, like I said, and Benito Santiago was signing autographs at the Padres dugout. And I was like, I can't believe this. This is the first time I've ever seen any Major League Baseball player in person. But there's Benny, there's my favorite catcher. And so I kind of squeezed my way through like the crowd of kids, and I have a baseball, and I'm like, he's going to sign mine. He's going to sign mine next. And I was like 6 feet away from him. And all these kids behind me were like throwing their ball to Benny. And one of them like hit him in the chest. And after that happened, he gathered all the baseballs on the dugout, took them in his hands, and turned around and threw them over his head, like into the stands. And it was like they couldn't do that now because they would get fined and get in trouble. But it was rightfully so. He was kind of mad that he was getting hit by these baseballs.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, I would say my first ever MLB experience was probably my most favorite baseball memory.
That's cool that you remember that so vividly.
Yeah.
Okay, so kind of backtracking a little bit, you mentioned the Reds and Pete Rose. So we have a commonality between Pete Rose. So I have actually met him, and I believe you have met him as well.
Mm-hmm. I have.
What was that like?
So I met Pete Rose during the 2015 All-Star Week, and I had never been to All-Star game. I always wanted to go, and I got tickets to it in kind of a funny way. Like, so in 2014, Bud Selig ended his like commissioner role, and Rob Manfred took over during like 2014 to 2015 season. And I followed this Instagram account called OMG Reds, and it was ran by a couple of guys that were just like diehard Reds fans. And there was this post that he posted in 2014, and it was a 2015 All-Star ball, like a Rawlings ball, because they have a different ball for every single All-Star game. They have a different ball, commemorative ball that they use. But it had Bud Selig's stamp on it. And so it was kind of funny because like Bud Selig is no longer the commissioner, but for some reason Rawlings and Major League Baseball went ahead and made this like phenomenon of a baseball, because Rob Manfred's the commissioner of baseball now. And so I posted on that, I commented on that photo, I need that ball. Just, being stupid. And there's this guy, his name is Matthew, on Instagram, Matthew Scott King. I'll never forget this. He said, do you have tickets to the All-Star game? And this was in December. And I said, no, but if I had tickets, I would go. And minutes later, I get an email from this random guy, Matt King. He says, hey, I have a ticket for you. And I was like, you got to be kidding me. Because it was in Cincinnati, and it's only like 4 hours from Nashville. And he said, yeah, let's just do a trade. Let's trade some Mitchell bats for this All-Star ticket. And I'm like, okay. And but he was like, let me run it by my wife first, and we'll see. And that kind of stuff sometimes, I get emails like that sometimes, and I'm like, this is not going to happen. But not only did it happen, I met Matt for the first time when he gave me his All-Star ticket. Never met him. Only talked to him really just texted him. We're like best friends now. he has 4 kids, and I'm the godfather of his 4th child. Like, we're like brothers. And it all started with like this stupid Instagram post that led into like him wanting me to come to Cincinnati. And then not only did I go to the All-Star game, but there was a store called Article Menswear that was in OTR. If you're familiar with Cincinnati at all, there's an area called OTR, and they reached out and they're like, hey, we want to do a pop-up shop, a pop-up store at our shop to feature Mitchell Bat. And it'll be a night of like baseball and beer and stories, and come and sell your stuff. And it's on a Friday. It's the Friday of All-Star Week. And so now that bookends me in Cincinnati from Friday to Tuesday. And so what should I do in that time period? So I got home run derby tickets as well. I went to the Futures game. And so I had tickets to everything. And then Cincinnati was like my favorite All-Star Week because they brought everyone out. Like, there was something to do for 12 hours a day, every day of that moment of that All-Star Week. And Pete Rose was signing autographs at this big like baseball card expo. And it was like Pete Rose and Lou Piniella, Barry Larkin, Eric Davis, Chris Sabo was there. I mean, there was just everybody that you can even imagine was there. And I got a Pete Rose autographed Mitchell Bat, and
Wow.
this really cool like illustration of Pete Rose. It was cool meeting him, but he didn't really say much. He was kind of quiet. He was kind of a quiet guy. I told him where I was from. I was like, hey, I'm from Nashville. I painted this bat for you to sign, Mitchell Bat Co., and gave him my card. And he just kind of nodded his head, and like, that's great. That's great. Signed the bat, gave it a little like swing, and handed it back to me. That was it.
That's all you need. As long as you can tell the story that Pete
Yep.
Rose, did a little swing with your bat.
Yep. Yeah, and all that's on YouTube, on my YouTube channel.
Yeah, I think that I scrolled past that and I was like, that's cool. My story is not nearly as interesting and cool as that, but I was on like a family trip when I was in high school or college in Vegas, out of all places, and we're walking through some of the resorts there, and I think it was either Mandalay Bay or MGM, but there's like this mall that connects some of the hotels, and we're just walking through the mall, and all of a sudden there's this memorabilia type shop, and my dad looks over and he sees a sign that says Pete Rose autographs, or like Pete Rose is
Yeah.
making an appearance, and we're like, oh my gosh, when is that? And it's like, no, he's in there right now. And we're like, what is he doing here? It's just such a random experience. And we walk in there was no line. It was just like he was sitting at his table signing stuff, and there happened to be no line. And we just walked up and got his autograph. I got a autographed picture, and that was like the coolest thing, just so
Nice.
spontaneous. And kind of like your encounter, he didn't really talk much.
Mm-hmm.
We did tell him, it's like, we got to get you in that Hall of Fame. We got to make
Yep.
it happen. And
Yeah.
he was like, I totally agree. And he actually did kind of start talking a little bit. Just there was nobody in line, and it was kind of cool getting his take on, on the current state of
Mm-hmm.
things, and then the Hall of Fame. But that was pretty neat to walk up on, and then just meet the legend that he is. So, but I thought
It's
that was
amazing.
interesting that we both met him.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
And he still has a very great signature.
mhm,
Like, it looks nice and clean, and he took his time to do it right.
definitely. I'll only give you a few more, so it won't take too much of your time. Um, so let's see. Oh, here's a good one. So, being a creative in the baseball world, we're constantly looking at design. We're constantly looking at branding. Which is your favorite baseball logo or branding that you've seen, either recently or at a certain period of time?
Hmm. That's a very good question.
Because there's a lot of good ones and there's a lot of bad ones.
Yeah. I think the Yankees logo and branding is pretty phenomenal, and they've protected their brand since the beginning. Like with like them having a Nike swoosh on the front of their jersey, I think is kind of heartbreaking a little bit. But I like the Yankees logo that has the like the Uncle Sam hat on it. Like the bat. Have you seen that logo? It's like a bat, and it has like a Uncle Sam hat on it, like the
Yes,
striped,
yes. It's like a
and it's like,
full kind of lockup thing.
yeah, that one, and then also the New York Mets kind of their logo that has like the backdrop. I like those old school like logos that are like kind of weird, and
Hmm.
they're like kind of bad, but that's what makes them good
More
somehow.
graphic. Hmm.
Yeah, but yeah, I think that's what stands out to me is the Mets and the Yankees like have a solid brand story that they've really kept going since the beginning.
Hmm. Mine is really simple. It's not even a team that I'm like a super fan of, but I did buy a hat because I love their logo, and that's the Milwaukee Brewers.
Ah,
This
yes.
this logo right here
Yep.
is one of the cleverest things I've ever seen
The MB.
in baseball. Yeah, and it being
Yeah.
love. Like I I just always seen that, and I know that they went away from it for a while, and then they've recently brought it back, which I was like celebrating so hard. But I just growing up and seeing that logo, I'm like, I got to get a hat just
It's a
because
good one.
logo.
It's a good one for sure.
All right, so I'll give you one more question, and that is kind of based around what Random Jam is, and we kind of talk about random entertainment stuff like music, movies, TV, sports, and so I'm going to leave you here with a question of what is your favorite baseball movie or TV show?
Okay. It's got to be Major League. Uh, that's the one that I watched at way too young of an age when I was little, and that's the one. That's the one. My favorite old baseball movie. Favorite new baseball movie has got to be Moneyball.
Hmm.
I watch that one quite often. It's a fantastic story. It's a calming experience. But yeah, I would say Major League, Moneyball, and Field of Dreams has to be in there somewhere.
Oh yeah, that's the staple of all
Yeah.
baseball movies.
Oh yeah.
For me, it's usually a tie. It really depends on the day. A tie between Rookie of the Year and Sandlot, but
Okay.
most of the time, Sandlot is number one because it's nostalgic, which I'm sure you
Yep.
figured out. I'm a very nostalgic person.
Yep.
um, but that movie just like it takes me back to that age, that kind of like the Sandlot days, and it's just such a weird movie, but like such a great baseball movie.
Yep.
Um,
I agree.
and then
Yeah.
Rookie of the Year is just goofy and fun, but I always seem to land on the Sandlot.
Yeah. My girls love The Sandlot, and so that just like warms my heart.
Definitely. All right. Well, so do you happen to have anything you want to share or plug before we go?
Sure. Yeah. MitchellBatco.com. Get your orders in for Christmas coming soon, and custom bats. Also hockey sticks. Just added hockey sticks to MitchellBatco.com, and I'm adding footballs. Leatherhead sports footballs are coming soon to the site. So Mitchell Batco is expanding into other sports because I love baseball, but I also love a lot of other sports. But yeah, check us out, MitchellBatco.com.
I'm waiting to see that cricket bat show up on feed.
Coming soon.
For the international customers. So
Yes.
awesome. Well, that's awesome. We're gonna wrap it up here. Thank you guys for tuning in and listening. Thank you so much, Jeremy, for being here, sharing your awesome story, and inspiring all of us to go do our thing and launch now and And that's so great that you're still in it, still doing it, and we're excited to see where things go with that. Awesome.
Cool, man. Thanks. That was a great conversation.
For sure, for sure. I definitely appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, thank you.